Now we're going to talk about patrol bases. So when I dive into patrol bases, right, you can look into the doctrine, right? Like I've been telling y'all, I've been using the Ranger Handbook, using the Infantry Bible, right? You can pull from these, right? Bottom line is they're going to give you the base backbones of what a patrol base needs to look like, what exactly its use is, and exactly the priorities of work, right? So we'll dive later into the priorities of work, but first and foremost, the certain way to do it is in the doctrine, right? So take what I say by knowing this. This is the way I've done it when I went to camp. This is the way I did it. This is the way the majority of us did it. This is the way I've seen it be done. So there we go. All right. So let's talk about patrol bases, right? So first and foremost, I'm going to start off with the picture, right? Let's just give you a visual before we start to dive into really the meat and potatoes of what it actually is, right? So for a patrol base, right, this triangle shape is really what the formation of the platoon is going to look like, right? So imagine your platoon, right? You have your assault 1, assault 2, security and weapons squad, right? Then your PL, your PSG, then your PL having your RTO, and then your PSG having your medic, right? Somewhere in there you could assign a forward observer out of the platoon. You could assign that paceman. There's different positions like that, right? But those are the main things that we need to know, right? So from there, we're going to talk about patrol bases, right? So you're going to go into a patrol base in between missions to bed down for the night, to go from day to day, right? You're going to do that in your patrol base, right? So when you're choosing that location for a patrol base, ideally, in the real world, it's going to be in a shitty area where you wouldn't expect a patrol base to be, because the whole idea is cover concealment to where you're not out in the open. You're somewhere where it is ducked off, but you're in a shitty terrain to where it's like, oh no, why would soldiers be there? That's the whole point of a patrol base, right? But you'll see when you go to CST in Fort Knox, Kentucky, like they have paved off areas where you can see, holy shit, like this is where I'm supposed to set up my triangle and my apexes, right? Like you'll see it is cleared, it is paved almost for it to be exactly where you're gonna bed down for the night, right? So from there, right, you'll see it, if you see this visually in your head, and then once you get there, boots on the ground, you're in Kentucky running the lanes, then you'll actually see like, oh fuck, like this is exactly what I need to put down my platoon in this formation, right? So let's start, right? So we're doing a movement as our platoon, and we got the location of where our next patrol base needs to be, right? So we're given an objective, and that is where we are supposed to find a patrol base, right, to bed down for the night. So our platoon, we're moving in formation, and then we get to where we need to be. We get to that point. We're going to that, again, the battle drills, right? We're going to get in a security hall, establish that 360 security. And then as the PL, you're going to send out that RNS team, that recon and surveillance team, and they're going to go through and look through and clear the area to see if, hey, we can actually have a patrol base here, right? So they're clearing through, making sure that no one's been there before, making sure that it's actually suitable for a patrol base. Upon their return, what I would suggest is then pulling your security squad, right? So then your security squad, they're going to get online. They're going to get online, right? So that squad leader is going to do the hand and arm signal for them to get online. And then they're going to clear through, right? So once they clear through, then they become this part of the triangle, right? So security is all online there. So then now we have the PSG and medic. They're going to come up and they're going to be at this apex, right? The 6 o'clock. Think about a clock, right? So when the hands are down at 6 o'clock, when that's the time, that's where this is, right? So at this apex, that is where I want the PSG and then the medic to then take accountability, right? They're going to count off who's coming in the patrol base, right? So they're taking accountability already. That security squad has gone in and bed down, right? So then now from here, what I also would like is I would like my gun teams to start to infill as well. So I want my gun team here and my gun team here so I could place those 240s at these apexes, right? So then from there, these 240s are placed, and then I'm going to bring up this saw to have at this apex, right? So then I have assault 1 clear through, and assault 2 clear through, and then they're going to get online just like security squad did, right? So then with that, we have this entire triangle making up the patrol base, right? And then we have 240 here, 240 here, and the saw here. The idea behind that is that you want your highest casualty producing weapons on each apex, right? So then that way, we think about a 360 security standpoint. You have this squad facing that way, that squad facing that way, that squad facing that way, and then the highest mass capacity producing weapon on each apex, so that each sector of fire is covered, right? And then we'll dive deeper into sectors of fire as well. So just so you can get the image of your head, right? You've already infilled, and each squad is set down with your weapon squad already at the apexes, right? So this and the headquarters, this is like, you could pull your squad leaders into headquarters, but this is where the PL, RTO, PSG, medic, they're going to be located here in the headquarters, right? That's in the middle of the patrol base. So then from there, right, let's talk about what it actually looks like when they're online. So let's say this is that security squad getting online, right? So what we said is those 240s are right here as the apex, right? Just to give you a little bit to kind of picture off of it, and then that headquarters is back here. So now let's look at the actual line, right? So here we have them in pairs, right? So instead of having them each individually spread out across the line, what we're going to do is strong point, right? So when we strong point, we put 2 soldiers on line next to each other, right? So then what that does is that allows me as a squad leader to have them strong pointing to where I have a team leader to my left, a team leader to my right, right? So that as a squad leader, you're behind that line. You're not on line with them. That way, as a squad leader, you can go up to each strong point, talk to the soldiers, and then by doing that, you go up and you pull one off of the line. When you're at CST, you do not, as that squad leader or even as that PL, you should never go directly online as they're pulling security and try to talk to them. Don't ever try to get on the knee and disseminate information to your Joes online. So that's why strong pointing can help, right? So you can pull one down and there's still Joe here covering that sector of fire, right? But you've taken that person down, you're talking to them. So what I would do when I was in that squad leader role, I would do this, right? So then I could pull my Alpha and Bravo team leaders. Everyone is still up here is online. I have my Alpha and Bravo team leaders, right? Then I'm disseminating whatever I just got from the PL, and then I could leave, go back to headquarters and do the rest of my planning job, and then my team leaders can disseminate by then pulling off these individual fire team Joes to then disseminate that information while being off the line still, but all these sectors of fires are still taken care of, right? So then we dive into sectors of fire, right? So these little lines right here, that is by you telling your individual soldier on the line they need to pull out their compass and then shoot an azimuth to as far as they can see to where they can put that azimuth into a sector sketch, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to pull out their right in the rain, they're going to pull it out, then they're going to draw this triangle right here, right, to show their view, right? And then you're going to draw a sector sketch, right? You're going to do an estimate of how many meters fire you can see, and then you're going to draw that, right? That is when you get your sector sketches and your sectors of fire. But first, let's backtrack, okay? Then let's get into the priorities of work. What are you actually fucking doing in the patrol base, right? So first, it's going to be security with job plan, communication, mission prep, water resupply, mass plan, rest, and stand-to. Note that rest is at the tail end. Rest is not a priority when you're talking about the priorities of work. That is why it is at the tail end, yes? So then we get into a primary, alternate, and supplementary line of defenses, black and gold plan, which is your withdrawal plan in this point, primary and alternate battle position, and then we talk about engagement area development. First, we're going to ID the enemy's avenue of approach, we're going to ID the enemy's course of actions, determine where to kill the enemy, plan and integrate obstacles, in place weapon systems, plan and integrate IDF, and then at the tail end of it, as all of this is working in one fluid factory motion, right? We're reporting to hire. We have constant communication. We're telling the RTO, hey, to hire this, tell them we're done with this, get this approved. Did this not get approved? Let's tell them what's doing this. Let's ask them this. Keep that constant communication so that even at camp, when that hire is that cadre there, they're tracking that you're getting all that shit done, right? So cool. Let's go into priorities of work. So security. Security is the main thing. You need to keep 360 security, 100% security established until you have. So the first priority is security, right? That's what I'm talking about. Everybody's online. Everybody's pulling security, meaning they're down in the prone looking out. And then you have they're doing their sector sketches and they're reporting back. So then you can sketch an entire sector sketch for this patrol base and establish, boom, 100%, 360 security, all these sectors of fire are covered, right? And again, that's by doing that with the compass. They're shooting at azimuth. They're making sure it's locked out, right? at camp, you need to ensure that each individual is doing that, right? Okay. So then with that, with security, we then go into this engagement area development, right? So we're thinking about security. They're at 100% security, right? We have all of our guns up. So then we're thinking about avenues of approach, okay? So then we're thinking about the obstacles, and then we're thinking about what we have, right? So let's think about defense, okay? So we have things like C-wire, like the barbed wire that you can place. Then we have things like claymores. So say we're on this patrol base and there is a close path, close road, any close terrain where you can see an enemy coming through. You want to place those obstacles there as part of the defense and security, right? Okay, so then once you have that, then as the PL and the headquarters, y'all come up with the withdrawal plans, being the black and gold plan, right? So when I was at camp, right, someone had a really nice template we filled out, but I believe it was, we went on the map, we picked a point, we got the distance, we shot an azimuth, and we said, okay, black, 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 black. If we call that out, this is where we're going to set up an alternate patrol base. And then we did the same for gold, right? So that you have two options, a primary and alternate. And then we had to go get those approved, right? So what we did is we plotted them, and then we showed the distance, and we called up to hire, we showed cadre, and we got those approved, right? So then with that, that's the withdrawal plan, being the black and gold, right? So then you can disseminate that down to your soldiers. Then when we get into communication, that's what I'm saying with your RTO. You're constantly sending up these reports with hire, you're getting this approved and whatnot, right? So that's flowing through. And then mess plan, okay? So we're thinking about water supply mess plan, right? So that's your platoon sergeant and sustainment, right? You're getting accountability, seeing how much ammunition your Joes have expended. You're thinking about how much water they actually have, how many MREs they have on hand. So then from there, you're going to get those numbers tallied in, and then you're going to have a PSG ready to report that up to hire to get that resupply accounted for. And then from there, rest and stand to, right? So that cannot be done until everything is approved, and then you get the call from hire that you're ready to rest for the night, and then go into stand to in the morning, which is where at a certain time, it's usually before the sun is going to rise to where it is still dark at night, right? Then you want to be at 100% security, which is stand to, waiting for then hire, which will be cadre waking up and then going to the patrol base and telling you your next mission, right? You're waiting for that in stand to. So then when we talk about this, right? So when we're talking about the priorities of work, you have to establish 360 security first. You have to have those RNS teams. Well, so the same RNS team that came in and cleared this patrol base is the same RNS team you can send out to Cloverleaf to see what else is out there in the patrol base, right? So then when you get those sector sketches back, let's say that there's a bunch of trees to where this individual soldier can't see further than 100 meters. Okay, so you can send that RNS team to go check past that 100 meters and see what is behind that, right? So you're knowing the entire area of your patrol base and really instilling that security. A lot of this, it'll take approval from hire to get certain reports in and certain things to get done. So like when I was at CST, I remember I got on patrol base, everyone was super tired or pissed off, and I was like, fuck it, man, I'm going to try to do this fast and efficient so everyone could go to fucking sleep. Because like we said, rest is at the very end. So then even then too, when after 360 security and 100% security is established, and then your security and withdrawal plan has been approved, then you're able to start pulling off these weapons and conduct weapon maintenance, right? So that is a big part of this mission prep, right? You have to think about maintenance of these weapons, right? You can't pull everybody off the line, so that's why we get these strong points, right? So even if we go to 33% security, right, we have one gun up and the rest are pulled off to conduct that maintenance, right? What I would suggest is at 66% security, right? Take off, leave. You're gonna take off the highest mass casualty producing weapon from the least likely avenue of approach apex, right? So let's say here, right? We're gonna take out that 240 first, and we're gonna take out that 240, and then we're gonna leave these two guns, and then they're gonna do maintenance on here, right? Get that gun with the CLP, do the cleaning, weapons cleaning, and make sure the gun is up and ready to go for the night, right? Then you're gonna flip through and do it with the rest of them, right? Even with your M4s, right? As your Joes can, since we are already establishing that we already had 100% security and we know that our sector sketches are good, we can then pull off these Joes from these strong points, and they can alternate. One can clean the M4 and then switch, so that weapon maintenance is still getting done, right? So then let's see what else, okay? So then we can talk about IDF, right? So you're going to have an FO. You're going to appoint someone that's really good with call for fire, right? So they're going to try to establish these battle positions, right? So we've established a black and gold plan for alternate patrol bases. But let's talk about battle positions, right? Let's talk about which distance we want to consider, like phase lines, really, of how close these enemies can get to where we consider this, and then a primary battle position, or alternate one, right? So what I would suggest is you could use that black and gold plan to use those alternate patrol bases as then another battle position to go to if you had to retreat back to those. So you could do that. And then you want to think about that final line of that primary, alternate, submarine line of defenses, right? So you want to keep them at a certain distance to where, one, it's not danger close, so you can use that indirect fire. But then two, you could track, like, okay, how close are these enemies getting to where we need to say, okay, PL, like, what the fuck do we do? They're already up to us on the line, right? So what you do is you get that primary, alternate, submarine line of defenses, right? And then with that, at those distances on those lines, you can use those as TRPs for your fires, right? So if you're at camp and you have a really good FO, you could appoint them to do that and then get those fires approved. So that way you use TRPs for this primary line of defense, right? So let's say it's here. So that way if you see enemies get to here and you want to call for fire there, boom, that primary line of defense is being used with those fires, okay? And then from there, let's look at it, okay. So the main thing that I want to express is that when you're doing that patrol base, the priorities of work, they do not have to be done in order. They can be done simultaneously, right? But no matter what, rest, and then mess plan, water resupply. Yes, your Joes are going to be tired, hungry, thirsty, right? But you can't go into any of that. You can't go into people eating. You can't go into people refilling water, packing up the MREs for the next day. You can't go into any of that unless everything before that is taken care of. Most essentially, security, the withdrawal plan, the communication is up, and then you go into mission prep for the next day as well. So that is the patrol base.